Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Kelly. That's okay. We'll hook up and be able to talk directly, okay?
I'll be in Atlanta soon.
Okay. Okay. You know how far St. Thomas is from Atlanta?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Destiny. I am so excited. I have back with me again the one and only Queen Tina McElroy Ansa and her number one fan, I believe, my big sister, Kelly Green Adams. It is so, this is such an enjoyable situation because I can't speak for anybody else, but I've had a rough day. And one of the things that kept me going was knowing that I was going to see Queen Tina tonight. And I'm so excited. I was telling her, and I was talking to my sister earlier, she tried to interview me the other day, Tuesday, I think, about my first year as a talk show host. And we ran into some technological difficulties, but we're going to try it again this weekend. But I was thinking about, I'm still having a hard time believing it's been a year since I made the decision to do this. But I was telling Queen Tina, I was thinking about some of the people that I've had on the show. Some people I've asked and they wouldn't, they said no, whatever the reason. But I knew for a fact that one of the first people that came to my mind that I had to ask to return and share this celebration with me was Queen Tina. And in my head, I wanted to celebrate it. I wanted to have a larger celebration and do something different than what I'm doing. But I'm just grateful that I'm still here and that she could join me tonight. Now I'm going to put her on blast in front of all of you all at this moment. And I want to tell you all, I'm going to see if Queen Tina will be honest. When I asked her, would she come back and be my guest during the month of March to celebrate, she called me on the telephone and said, I want to say to you that when you asked me to come back, I thought about something that my mother told me, and that was, when you do something for a Negro once, they want you to do it again. And I cracked up laughing. That was hysterical to me. So, Miss Tina, did you say that to me?
I most certainly did. That's the kind of thing you can only say to somebody you love, okay? Right. And only say to somebody you fixing to say yes to. You can't say that if you go say no, because then it's mean. And I didn't know it to be me. But it is true to say, well, why go to the person you know ain't got something? Go to the person you know you got one. Unfortunately, this is what Kelly and I, your sister and my sister, were talking about before we started recording. And that is my novel, The Hand I Fan With, which is a primer for Black women to stop giving so much of themselves away before they give to themselves.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. I mean, how much can we preach that? And Kelly said something that I say all the time when I have girlfriends or mentees or just run across women who are just beating up on themselves. Just, oh God, I was so stupid. I had the opportunity to do this 10 years ago. And no, I didn't do it, right? All those people with what they should have done and just beat. Oh, and sometimes they will say, oh, I'm just so stupid. I'm so sorry. And I said, stop a minute. I do this all the time. I love little Tina. I like Tina when she was about 7 years old because she thought she could fly before she started developing breasts and boys started noticing her and stuff. You remember that? I literally thought that there was some way. I didn't stand on a wall and try to fall off like boys do. I'm a girl. So I thought that at some point I would just fly, that there was no reason why we couldn't fly. Back when you thought you were magic. You remember, when you literally thought you were magic. So I asked people to, okay, imagine that little girl. I imagine Tina. I see what she has on. I see the little dress she has on, this plaid, and she's got those little Brogane shoes on, and she's out playing. And I said, and so I asked you, Jamie, did you just see little Jamie?
Yes.
Can you see her? Uh-huh. You see the sweetest little thing in the whole world?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you ever say to her, you're stupid, you're so dumb, you missed your opportunity, everything is over? That's why you did it. You deserve that. You did that, and you just. Would you ever speak to little Jamie like that?
No,
Ever?
ma'am. No,
Why would
ma'am.
you speak to big Jamie like that? Kelly,
Yes.
you on there?
I am. I'm just enjoying the interview, but you're exactly right. We are
Isn't
hard
it?
on ourselves. Yeah.
I have to remind people of that I have to remind myself of that all the time, especially at my age. Sometimes I get into the missed opportunity thing. Oh, if I'd done that at 30, I published my first novel at 40, the month I turned 40. And, I've gone through that. Oh, shoot, they're young women, publishing out of grad school. And here I am, 40 years old. I mean, all those 20s and my 30s, I could have been right. I have to stop myself. I have to say, wait a minute, would you tell little Tina she missed the boat? That she made all those mistakes and that's why she deserves to feel. So, I have to tell myself that. And I think the biggest part is it's just being gentle with yourself. I don't know if you've seen our latest podcast. It's with Iyanla Vanzant. Yay! Oh, so excited. Oh, God. Oh, wait a minute. I was like Kelly with Iyanla, like Kelly was just with me.
Okay.
I just fangirled. And she's a girlfriend of mine, but she's still Iyanla, and she's real true and honest. And, everything that she says, is from the heart. That's been my experience with her. And we hadn't talked in forever. And I just reached out and she sent an email because I didn't think the phone number I had for her still worked. It did. And she said, Tina, where you been? What you doing? Sure, I'll be on your podcast. I mean, just like that.
God. Yeah.
Ask her what you want, right, Jamie?
That's right. That's right. I remember the very first time it came to me, like in my spirit, I want to ask Queen Tina to be on my talk show. And immediately I started with all the doubt, all the, my sister told me to stop saying this, but I'm just making reference to, I was like, I have a low budget situation going on. I don't have the bells and the whistles. And she's, big time author, bestseller, world known. She's not going to want to come on my show. And when I reached out to her, she said, sure, I will. Just give me a couple dates. And I literally was just staring at the computer, like reading it over and over and over, like, did she say that? And then when I mentioned it, I remember I shared on Twitter that she was coming, and your response to me was, ask for what you want. And I remember that because if I did not ask, you would not have known that I wanted you to come. And you have been such a blessing to me. I think I mentioned to you the last time. I don't know if we ever even got to the conversation because after you shared about your husband being sick and his last time here in the physical realm, I think we kind of got away from the question. But I want to ask you, when you think about people like Kelly, and I'm going to pick on her tonight, and people such as myself and millions of others that are still reading. And I know you've written many, many, many books since then, journals, talk classes, all of that. But somehow we keep coming back to the hand I fan with. When you think about how many years ago you wrote that book and people are still talking about it and still living it out and still feeling it, what does that make you feel like?
What does that make me feel? Oh, God, so grateful. So grateful because I was just about to say when we were talking earlier about the book is that all my books are blessed by spirit, I feel. All my books didn't come from spirit, done like directly. Like the hand I stand with really can't, it's not like I was just typing what was in my head. I had to write the book. But so much of it came to me. I told you, I read it now and go, God, that's so smart. I can't believe I wrote that. But there's so much wisdom because I was, number one, the book is, and a lot of people miss this, is a real paean to Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God. There's, if you read Their Eyes Were Watching God, Herman is very much like a tea cake and there's a storm at the end, all the rest. So, I certainly admire, as you can imagine, Zora Neale Hurston, and she's at my elbow all the time. So I had lots of, that's why the book is so long. I had lots of aims for this book. You know, I knew that it could be I knew it could be a healing book. I knew it could be funny. And I knew it was speaking to the heart of my readers. I was going to say the heart of my sisters, but they're men who have talked to me intimately about what they learned from the book and what they learned about Black women from the book. Men always telling me, ugly ways. Oh, thank goodness somebody explained those women. I had a man say that to me, but I was at a social kind of event, but I was going to be reading, so I was at a stool, and you know how you can see people come in, and it was a person's house in California, and I saw him come in, a Black man, came in, and I mean, made a beeline. You know how somebody can just make a beeline for you? He said, oh my goodness, I have wondered for years, where do these women come from? He said, I've tried to figure them out. He said, they come from Mud Deer, huh? I said, maybe some of them do. I said, maybe some of them do, because he really stopped and thought about it. But you know, the book really speaks to women. It speaks to some men, but it really speaks to women. And I knew that it was kind of anointed in that way that that I knew it was supposed to be in the world. And I knew I like to write. I write organically. You know, like one idea kind of has to come out of the other, I don't like things coming out of, even though life happens to you sometimes, I don't like things coming out of left field. I like there to be some reason or some origin for it. And I was in the car driving. My husband was driving me to the airport. I was still publicizing Ugly Ways. And so, you know, when you finish a book, you kind of have another book in mind, kind of. And so you should, because when you finish the book, it's a lag of sometimes 9 months to a year, you know, so you should be working on something. And so I was working on a story, a love story, because I always wanted to see Black men and women on the page doing it. You know, I didn't want to fade off, because that's what happened when I would read my mother's books, you know, when I was little, and it would fade off in the good part. And I said, no, don't fade off. I don't know what they're doing. Where's he putting it? Why is he screaming? What is it? Does it feel good? And so I always wanted to write a book with all that on the page of how it feels and what he's doing and what color it is and all of that. And, but especially from a book, but.
You crack me up.
I see that. I'm tickling you, and you're being tickled is tickling me back. So we're just laughing at each other, laughing with and at each other. And so that's what I wanted to do. And so Sinead, my husband, was driving me to the airport. And you know how your people know you and will give you a look that you wouldn't take from anybody else? Like,
right.
How stupid are you? Kind of look. And we're driving along. And I said, I know this book is going to be, you know, a love story, because I want to, you know, write a love story. And I think I'm going to make it Lena, because I think y'all love Lena, and y'all going to let her get away with a little bit more than, you know, some stranger. And I knew I wanted to be really sexy. I wanted to be showing all kinds of stuff. And so, but I looked at Sinead and I said, but I don't know who Lena's going to fall in love with. And he turned, you know, from the steering wheel, you know, I'm just looking like, you know, what? He said, who else would Lena fall in love with but a ghost? Girl, the whole novel just opened up. It just opened up. I could not wait to get on that plane. I had so much to write down. I had so much. It just came to me, because that was just really the key that I needed. And I feel like I would have finally worked to that, but worked that out. But it was so good having it from the beginning. And I knew Herman had an H name. He was Herbert, he was Henry, I just knew it was H, and I couldn't figure out. So when I was writing for the longest, when I get to the Herman, I just put H and, you know, capital H and go on. And so just one day I was sitting at my desk, just sort of looking out the window thinking, and I said, Herman, maybe. I said, Herman. Then I wrote it down. I said, oh my God, that's Herman. I took the day off. I literally took the day off and got drunk. I think I went and got me a beer or something. I was drinking liquor at the time. So, you know, that's how it came to be. So I always thought of it as a really blessed and anointed book, because a lot of it came to me from other people, you know. Just the idea of characters came to me of people that I'd known, and people who had told, you know, somebody had mentioned somebody. You know how you can, I don't know if you've had this experience, but sometimes somebody can just say, oh, they call him short leg. Let's just say that. I'm from sort of the country, so Black people love nicknames. Lord have mercy, they love to call you pink eye and gray eye, whatever thing. And it's interesting because I thought I lost my thought. I was going to call people names. Oh well, I thought that it'll come back. Nicknames also came up to me because, like I said, my father and my mother, my family owned juke joints and liquor stores. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up, with all kinds of people, but especially those who drank, and also, this was before desegregation. So, in a mid-sized, especially Southern town, there was always the Black neighborhood in the Black business district. And Absolutely. I was with Broadway and Mulberry. That's why I named the town Mulberry, as a matter of fact, because I used to walk Mulberry and Broadway since I was like able to walk. And my dad's name is Walter, but I'm Waltina, but they call him Beavy. And I look just like him. And I'd be walking from one store and somebody, grown man, hey little Beavy, I know who your dad is. Hey Beavy, you know who that is. That's Beavy's child. That's our youngest child. I mean, it would always be so. I mean, the community and that feeling I wanted very much in all my work. I wanted that feeling of community, of safeness. I wanted, if I was writing about a child, I wanted there to be some sense. With Lena, for instance, she didn't know what was going to happen, like in the spirit world, but in her own life, she was comfortable and she was loved and she was taken. So I didn't want it to be scary, like in real life. I wanted it to be scary, like supernatural.
And I love that. I've had people to say to me down through the years when I talk about your work, not just the Hand Not Fan With, but your work in general, and I talk about how spiritual it is, and unfortunately, we have been so colonized that we have lost the meaning of spirituality as a people. And so we automatically jump to the definition of spirituality that has been given to us versus what's inside of us. Because I said one of the things that I loved about the book was the spiritual parts. Like, even with Herman being a ghost, the relationship between him and Lena was so pure and so honest. And that's what, years ago, when I had never even experienced that, I knew that's what I wanted. And I knew that that's what she deserved and what was making her happy. And so I said, this woman understands spirituality, and it's not spooky. It's not wicked, it's not evil. It gives you insight into who you are. And that's what caused me to fall in love with Tina McElroy Ansa. And so every book that had her name on it, I had to read it. Some of it made me laugh. Medea character and her daughters, they cracked me up. And I can't remember the name of the book, but the one that started out with the three sisters were coming to town, and one of them was calling from the bus stop, and she was saying, that's Ugly Ways. That's the three sisters, Ugly Ways. And but have you? I know you. I think I said it to you. You have read the sequel, Taken After My Dear? Yeah, my second one. Okay, yeah, that's the same sisters. Well, this little town. I think it. Besides the spirituality, let's not leave that before I talk. I want to talk about the little town and creating it. But I was blessed enough to have grown up been born barely in the first part of the last century. I was born in 1949. So my growing up years were the 50s. And, the 50s were when things were really jumping for Black people, not just the civil rights movement, but, moving into new things and desegregation, was about to come in the 50s and the 60s. So I grew up in a small town where I saw autonomy among Black folks, and where I saw that balance of the spiritual and the natural. When I grew up, it just wasn't an unusual thing for women to talk about what
what dreams they had the night before, and not just to play the bug, not just to play the number, but also to talk about. Grandmama came back to me like, she did. What did she say? Did she tell you anything about? So well, she told me something about a land. I mean, and I rediscovered this when we moved down here to the Georgia coast, Brunswick, Georgia, which is a small town. And I noticed down here in a small town that things were the way that they were in many ways before desegregation. Okay. That Black folks were clearly and honestly Black. They didn't make any excuse for that. You know what I mean? They were just out here Black. Because when we moved into desegregation, okay, we can't eat watermelon in public because then they're going to make watermelon jokes. Okay, chitlins are out, And so, in the 50s, young people, Black people were wanting to, move into that world too, But what happened is when, we lost so much. We moved into that world, but we didn't take that spirituality with us because it made us stand out and look uncomfortable in the white gaze. That was really what it was about. But down here, I discovered, I would, outside the Piggly Wiggly, women would be talking about their dreams and men talk. They just talk so, and it reminded me of my childhood because that's the way people were. They were Black, honestly Black, unconscious Black themselves.
Unapologetically
Black. And it was so rich and cultural. And all I needed was that spark to remember how valuable it was.
Yes, ma'am.
I knew I was going to write, and I'd been writing about things. And I'd written, the first thing that I really got some attention from editors was the chapter in Baby of the Family where Lena, as a little girl, goes up the street to get her hair done. And there's this beautiful, tall, Black Amazon of a woman who's from the Geechee Gullah. And she's there to help around there. So that was my first, it's just about a little girl who goes up the street to get her hair straight, And, editors, including Toni Morrison, I have her letter that says, we have no use for, individual unpublished, short stories, but this is a good short story or something like that, keep it up or something. So I knew I had been writing. But down here is when I just found the key that opened up that world that I had the privilege of living through and seeing. I was born with a caul over my face, the way Lena was. So I grew up hearing all this stuff. It's not. I think it's 1 out of 80,000 births. That's I read that recently. So it's not rare, but it's uncommon. It's very uncommon. And so, Mama said the hospital was a flutter about, a baby was born with a caul, and, down at my daddy's juke joints and liquor stores, people would say, what you dream about, baby? And I would say, I dream about a white horse. And they'd look in the book, with the stars and the moon on it, and they would get the number. And if they hit the number, they would buy me peanuts or a piece of candy or something like that. Sometimes they'd give me $1, So, all of this was very natural, to ask a child, what did you dream about? And then for an adult to act on that, not your near family now. This is somebody outside your family, outside your immediate family. And then you get a reward when they win. It was just so, everything was so, I almost said entangled, but everything was so, involved and wrapped around. And there's a comfort in that. There's a comfort in rituals. There's a comfort in spirituality. That's why, spirituality, it calls for rituals. It almost calls for you to say, oh, praise you. Am I right? It just calls for some kind, it calls for you to, it evokes you, that kind of thing where you have to invoke the spirit. And so, so I knew all about, asking about ghosts, and my cousin used to stand on my toes in the dark room and look over my shoulder when she was supposed to be able to see a ghost, and they wouldn't see a ghost, and they would hit me in the head and call me a dumb old stupid girl because they thought I was, so this was all part of my, I used to put, just like Lena, I used to put the magic on stuff all the time. Wow. They used to rub the car and it would come on. So, this was very, very integral to my life. And I realized the great loss we had, And so that's why I wanted to write about it. I wanted to capture that, just like you said, so that, you know, just like with Lena, I wanted to capture Lena doing too much so that women can read that and say, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah. And I think that, and I'm gonna let my sister comment in a minute, but I think that one of the things that really, really snagged me and caught me was that I always felt different, weird, not in a good way, just weird.
Just different.
Yeah.
Clearly,
and when
clearly different.
Yeah, and when I started reading your books, because I've always loved to read, my sister can tell you, I've had storages with hundreds of books in them that I've lost down through the years, but I just love to read. And as I started reading your books, in my spirit, what I was hearing was, it's okay that you're different. It's okay that people call you weird. It's okay that you're not comfortable around everybody, that you feel something strange around certain people, and that's okay. And that was one of the main lessons that I got out of your writing and what really drew you to me. And I honestly prayed that there would come a day.
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
That is not only okay, but it's a gift. That's what I wanted to say. You know, you're not just saying, okay, you're all right, you like it. No, you are different.
Yes,
and, you know, and accept that and use it, you know, and be grateful for it, you know, and ask questions about it. You know, that's what I do. That's what I wanted to get in, so we can get back to where we were before, where the natural was, am I right? So where we were before, where the supernatural is natural. I love when people say, you know, when I see people write, oh, she writes about the supernatural as if it's natural. That's exactly what I believe.
Yeah.
It is very much. Yeah.
Kelly, did you have anything you wanted to say? Or are you at a place where you can talk now?
Yes, I'm home. But
hey, Kelly.
I'm just listening and I'm just overwhelmed. And my sister knows I'm never at a loss for words, but I'm just soaking in so much. I think of what you're saying. And it's funny because my baby boy's father was born. They called it with a veil over your face.
Veil, that's what we always
and so his mother had put it in the Bible and
really? She saved, wait, she saved it?
She saved it because the nurse took it, she peeled it off and she put it in and pressed it for her, and she kept it for years. So when our child was born, well, long before our child was born, he had shared what that meant to me. And again, spirituality from either place, because Jamie and I grew up in a home with two Pentecostal pastors. So there was a spirituality around people understanding negative spirits as well as positive. But I don't think the Pentecostals really embraced the positive parts that made people different, but were able to quickly identify the negative. So, you know, in the Pentecostal church, there was a lot of recognizing spirits, but not the way that we would. And I remember when I first started dating my son's father, I had lost my keys, and it was like, I can't find my keys, and I'm panicking, and I'm like, where are my keys? I got to leave. And he was like, just calm yourself. And then he said, look in something that is round and you'll find it. And I looked around and all I saw.
Oh no, I can't hear you.
I actually did. I looked in the trash can and there they were. So I talked to him more about, what do you see and what happens? And he's very insightful. And so like you said, while people call it spooky, it really is a gift. One of my other favorite people it's a character, it's not a real person, but it's Monk. That show Monk.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things he says about his ability to see details, he says it's a blessing and a curse, because he sees it and it helps, but because he sees it, it sticks with him. And so I think about, even as Jamie was saying, growing up being different and people not knowing how to tell you to embrace that you're different. You don't have to hide that you're different. You don't have to be ashamed. It's a gift. It's a gift.
I have a question. Do you think, okay, you're thinking of your child, we're in different generations, but you're right behind me. And so I'm not right behind, but you're behind me. What's the difference? Right, do you see a difference in generations? For instance, my generation really wanting to get away from that and being embarrassed by all of that. Is there more of an embrace of that now, do you think?
So now our son is a lot more like our generation, and I'm the last year of the baby boomers, so I'm really not that far behind you. So it's like our generation was like, no, don't say that. You know, I was listening to you say how we integrated our lives and went in, and then we didn't want to bring with us our culture when we went to this new place. It was like, I got to do what they do, and I got to act like they act. What I love about this next generation, and my son now is going to be 20 this year, but they are so free to be who they are. They're so free to question what they don't understand. They don't just say, oh, well, because my mom told me that's the way it is, or because society said. My son researches everything, even down to spirituality. And they'll make comments. Oh, you know, I believe in God, but here's my challenge with this particular thing. And here's my challenge with this. So I love it because they have their own voice. I tell people when we were growing up, you know, our parents lacked understanding. So when you asked a lot of questions, they would be like, just sit there and be quiet. What you need to know that for? Like, you know, and I was a person that was
because I said so, right?
Right. Just because, and like, I'll say, why is that this way? And why is this way? And my mom would be like, well, you just sit there and be quiet, Kelly. But no, so I didn't want that for my son. So he was free to ask anything. And I think it's gone almost not quite full circle, but I believe, Queen Tina, it's coming back to a time where we're proud to be who we are. I was looking as I went down the street, because one season of my life, I did hair for a living. And I was, for some reason, looking at this young lady who had just got her hair done, and she had her little, I think she had a wig on, but she had like her nails done and whatever. And I don't know if you remembered when Black women started going to the nail salon, and then they started like doing their hair, and then they started going back to wearing their hair natural, like no more pressing, no more chemicals. Like, I'm just going to be me. And now this generation don't even think about putting perms, relaxers, anything. They just are coming to, this is who I am. I was born with this hair and I'm okay with it. I was born with this look and I'm okay with it. And so I love the fact that I feel like this generation is better in that regard. In the Bible.
Well, Jamie, I don't get out as much as you do, but I'm finding that I don't know if I'm finding that among young people. I'm finding when I was talking with Iyanla, you have to listen to this. It's just so wonderful. The podcast, our Two Old Chicks Who Know a Lot of Shit podcast. But one of the things that she said, and I was thinking of it earlier when Jamie was talking about young people, is that she's concerned about the next, about just the generations, what's going on. And she says one of the things that really disturbs her is that she sees young people not being careful with each other's hearts. Did I say that earlier?
Yeah, I do. But you know what? Because you know what, though, it gets me. I think about, and because of my upbringing, a lot of things I relate to biblical principle. And there's a principle that says that each generation is weaker, but wiser. And I look at Jamie has wise. They're weaker in the regard that I feel their morality is not as strong as ours. Like, we might have done some of the same things that they did, but we didn't put it in a song, and we didn't say it in the street, and we didn't call people out of their name and be disrespectful.
Well, that's not really morality. That's honesty.
But I know, but you know what? The challenge is like, again, that but they're wiser in that like a 2-year-old, my sister has a 2-year-old grandson who does those video games where you're running and jumping and running. And I'm like, I don't know how he does that. I mean, he does it without thinking, because technology and all of that, they're wiser, they're sharper, but they're weaker. They're weaker.
It really is. It is in the genes now. It really is in the genes that you know, we have generations who you know, who never had a phone, never talked on a phone that was a payphone, you know, or never talked on a phone that was, you know, connected to the wall, or generations who never grew up without Google, you know, who don't all of those things. Well, you know, I do agree in some ways. I don't know about the wiser part. I think
the wiser is that they will stand for who they are, whether we like it or not, whether society embraces it or not, which we gave that up in our generation to be accepted. So I think the wisdom comes in just, I do a conference called Loving the Skin I'm In. I think that's the wisdom. The wisdom is they look in the mirror, and no matter if their hair ain't combed, if it's nappy, whatever they look like, this is me. You know, and I think
that is true. That is a wonderful thing. Being ourselves. We, especially Black women in my generation, had a real challenge with that, you know, because there was a way to be. There was a way to be, and you know, and anything else other than that. That went from everything, what job you had, to, you know, who you dated, to, you know, to everything, what choices, where you lived, everything. Oh gosh, this is so.
Tina, let me ask you this question. I was thinking about this month, you know, as I come up on this year, and the challenges that I've faced throughout the year with regard to my personal challenges, health-wise, emotionally. My sister is like my go-to person when I'm having an anxiety attack, all of that. But I'm thinking about you and how I know you've had to have some struggles along the way. I know you've had moments when you have felt like, I don't know if I should do this or if this is the right way to do that. And I have that a lot going on with regard to this talk show. I think I mentioned this to you the last time you were here, that I was hesitant when I had the concept and I felt that my spirit, there was something I wanted to do. I didn't feel like I was ready technologically because of what I see other people doing and so forth and so on. And my eldest son and my sister said to me, people will tune in for content. They may be drawn to, you know, the banners and the lights and the bill, but they're going to listen into the content. And so that's what's carried me through to this year. So my question then to you is, what is some advice that you would give a person such as myself starting out on a new experience and, you know, trying to do something that you've never done before? What is some advice you would give when you have those moments of, I'm not sure if I'm prepared for this?
Well, you know, I always think of it as sort of a two-tier, because I'm old enough now to go to spirit right away. You know, you know how you will say, well, I've done everything else, I guess I'll pray. You know, that kind of thing. You know, a lot of people, you know, go there. We were talking about spirit being a part of your life. And this is partly, I guess, some of it is since my husband passed, and he feels so close. But I've always felt that. I felt that the spirits are close, and then I kind of drifted away. You know, as you get older, and you know, you move into the world, and nobody wants to talk about that kind of thing. You know, like you said, moving into like desegregation. But now I know that those two tiers. So, you know, I go to God. I go to my spirits, my great grandmama, especially auntie, my great. You know, I tune into that, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't say that it's a thing and not believe it. I say it's a thing and I go to it. I believe spirit cares for me, loves for me, is watching out for me. I've spent a lot of time worrying And I finally know that worry is useless. Jesus said so. We don't need all this hollering and screaming in here. You know, the child ain't dead yet. And so I love that. I love that scriptural quote. You know what? You know, worry is useless. What we need here is trust. I say that to myself. I say, okay, Jesus, you said that now. You said that, and I'm going to believe it. You know, and I have learned how much time I wasted worrying about things when I could have been writing an email to somebody like you did and saying, you know, can you help me do this? Or what should I do? Or have you ever had this experience? You know, so the first thing that I finally do is go to Spirit. The Spirit will find, like you're, you know, like looking for something. Spirit will find it in a minute. You know, you looking all over the house, or sometimes people will say it's gone. You know, it's just gone. So stop wasting your time. Go back to what your work is. And the second tier is just what you do. What you just mentioned is also is turning to your sister, turning to each other. I mean, each other is like one of my favorite phrases, each other, you know, because God could have, the creator, all of this could have put us on, one of us on each planet. We learning now there's zillions of planets. He could put each one of us who's ever been born on a different planet, but he didn't do it because he knew we needed each other. We need each other, and we need to say it out loud and just admit it. I can't do this by myself. You can't do this. Pretty much nothing you can do by yourself. You can write a book, but at some point you got to get a publisher. If you're going to want to publish, if you're the publisher, you still got to find a publisher. You can't do anything by yourself. So the first is I go to Spirit really as humbly as I can, you know, saying, I know you're there. I know you love me. You know, I mean, I have names of, you know, people I call sometimes, but I think that spiritual level is a real tool. I guess that's what I'm saying. If you believe it's a real tool that you can use in times of confusion and stress, and, you know, you just mentioned anxiety attacks, you know, I believe in breathing because I believe that Spirit. Somebody told me that. That's not mine. Just breathe. She said, breathe into your hand. She said, Spirit. That's breath. So, you know, I breathe. And I try to calm down. And the second tier is, like I say, I count on my sisters and my brothers. I count on people that I can call and just say, you know, I have people I can call and say, hey, calm me down. Iyanla Vanzant told us years ago, she said, I don't know if she's ever printed this, but she called it when you're all confused and, you know, you have this, you know, this choice, is it this choice or is that? She calls it running around in your head without adult supervision. And it's like giving your 2-year-old, 3-year-old a bunch of birthday cake, just icing and all. And you know you're gonna have a whole evening of, and you can't stop them, you know. And that's just what she says. You know, lots of times you just, you know, you're acting like you have, you know, you need an adult. You need an adult in your head. That's what I always say. So I always call Wanda, my partner, or I call Anita, who lives over. Sometimes I call my real, you know, my blood sister. When my mother was alive, I definitely called her. But you got to reach out, and you got to know that we need each other. And yes, what lesson did you learn? Ask for what you want.
Ask for what you want.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, I'll put you on blast now, Miss Little Schoolgirl. One of the things I've told Jamie time and time again is, you have my phone number. I'm a night owl. You have never called me and said, oh, I am so confused. Oh, I can't breathe. Oh, I have this headache on my sinus. You've never done that, have you?
No, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Did I tell you could?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Did I tell you should?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
We don't ask for what we want. We really do, especially Black women. You know, that Superwoman thing is a real thing. You know, it shouldn't be, but it is, because we find ourselves doing it. I was just talking about the, you know, going all the trips I made to the, you know, because that's because I don't like to go out of the house. So I stop at every place I have to, you know, stop at. But one of the things, this is so interesting. You got to count on your sisters and your brothers. I was telling Wanda, my podcast partner, and my friend, my 54 years something friend. We were college roommates in Spelman. And I was talking about, just going out and doing stuff. And I said, I was going to go to the beach. But by the time I went to the grocery store, and you know what she said? Go to the beach first. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to get my errands done I don't have to,
you don't have a time limit.
I don't have to pay for that. I don't have to put responsibilities, quote responsibility, which are not really responsibilities. So if you can do them any day of the week, they're not really responsibilities, But I don't have to put responsibilities ahead of my pleasure. I mean, and this was in the last year. This was in the last, I think this was in 2021. She said this to me, and here we are. We were both 72. We should, I should have known better. But you have to reach out to your friends because you need adult supervision in your head sometimes.
That's right.
You do. You need it a lot of times, And I see myself just running from thing to thing. Can't talk now. Got to fix this. No, I'm late for this. I'm always late for something. I'm pretty bad on deadlines. I will split a deadline wide open, but I will deliver. But you're gonna have to give me a couple of days after the deadline. So we have to ask for what we want. We have to turn inward. You talked about spirit before. I think, especially in organized religions, spirit is always talked about as something out there. Like you said, it's even an evil spirit, or it's a good spirit. But we forget that we're spirit. That's the thing. When I say turn to spirit, most of the time, I just need to sit down and settle myself. I just need to be quiet.
Yes, I love it.
I need to breathe. But unfortunately, these aren't things that we are taught as Black women. We're taught to achieve. We're taught to do it. We're taught to, if they ain't gonna show up, just go ahead and do it. Don't even ask for nobody because they ain't gonna show up. We're taught that. We are taught not to ask for help. That is, Jamie, Lord, I'm putting myself on blast. Wanda says this all the time. Wanda's my partner. She's the one she's the deadline. Wanda, this is what we've always been. Wanda is, well, Tina, if I have a plan, let's make a spreadsheet. She'll say, I know you think it's a thing, Tina, but let's make a spreadsheet. And I was like, oh no, let's just do this and we do that. I have no structure whatsoever, right? I've just got plans. And she will say that, and it will just bring me, back to, okay, let's make a spreadsheet. So, I value her so much. And she will say all the time, Tina, you want me to do that? And I'm a 2-year-old. No, I can do it. I'm going to do it this weekend. Okay, right? Knowing full well, I don't know how to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't feel, and so I have to come back and say, Wanda, were you doing something? She's kind enough never to say, I asked you that before, Tina. And she never says that, but I hear it in my head, every time. I can't even count the times I have to come back. But now I'm better at it. If I say I can do it, sometimes in the same conversation, I'll say, oh, you know what? Thank you so much. Would you do that for me? I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. Thank you. Would you do that? So I'm learning. Learning. Ma'am. That's the other encouraging thing, Jamie and Kelly, is that, we learn. That's the wonderful thing about human beings. If you're given enough time, you learn. You do better, even if it's morning to night. But I did put you on blast about that because we got to reach out to each other. And if I'm sleeping, I won't pick up. If I'm busy, I'll say I'll call you back, or if I'm there, I'll pick up. And say,
what I think? I think about this, and I think about, and this is not an excuse. This is a fact. Think about Kelly's reaction to you when she first came on tonight. That's the same way I feel about you. And I feel like that even though I have your phone number and I look at a lot, I just feel like I cannot interrupt the one and only Tina McElroy Ansa just to say, I have a sinus headache or I don't feel good.
Yeah, we're past that.
I can't do that.
We're past that. You can call me just like you call Kelly.
I'm going to call you every night for a whole week. And just breathe on the phone and you're going to know it's me. No, just play it.
I don't want you to play. I know, especially as getting older, Wanda teased me. We were talking about how many times we pee during the night. And she only pees once. I pee twice. And she was saying, I said, well, you just pee once. She said, I got up and read and something. I said, oh gosh, I said, just kind of keep your eyes closed, and pee. She says, oh, so you can just swing your legs out of bed at midnight. Oh, you ain't got to rub those knees. You ain't got to get that back straight before you get up. She said, hey, I have to wake up to get my body up to go to the bathroom. So I mean, it's really, I do understand. About physical, not in on the level that I know that you're dealing with, but physical impairments. And just getting old is, becomes a physical impairment. And it's hard to be in pain by yourself. Yes, that's all. It's hard to be in pain, but it doesn't help sometimes to be, but it sometimes helps to say, you got 5 minutes. And you say, sure, I got 5 minutes. What's up? He says, oh, I'm just not feeling well. And just to have somebody say, well, okay, have you rubbed that knee? Have you used some magnesium? Do you have some liquid magnesium that you can put on your knee or what? And a lot of times, it doesn't help. But it does help to have somebody say, oh, gosh, you're in pain. I'm so sorry. Oh, just like you, oh, poor little thing. She's in pain. She's a little human being. She feels pain too. That's my mama. Right. Yeah. So, I come back to that being, what Ayala said about being gentle with each other's hearts. And I think, that's a definite way that we can be gentle with each other, just acknowledging what your experience is. The other thing that I know, this is all over the place, and this is going to be the last all over the place thing, is that quite often in writing reviews and even talking about achievements on social media, I find, okay, this is my theory, and I hope I get a lot of feedback, is that people of color, Black people, have a hard time using superlatives with each other. Like, when I see somebody write, oh, the brilliant so-and-so, the brilliant Imani Perry, I always think, yeah, that's exactly how she should be. But then you think, well, how often do you see that word brilliant used, like with the brilliant school, the brilliant grammar school, the elementary school teacher, the brilliant principal, oh God, the brilliant nurse that who did, and it's interesting, and I don't know if that's just something I'm noticing, but I've made an effort to start using superlatives.
Yes, and I'm going to do so as well, because I have noticed that, but I haven't really done anything about it. But the more I think about it as you're speaking, it is something that we need to do more of. We do. To make a conscious effort to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what? Can I just say something real quick? Mm-hmm. What I find interesting about the use of superlatives too, and I do this a lot with people, is we're learning more, because I try to work with women on being kinder to each other. But it's a lot easier to use them for other people than it is for ourselves. And I'll say things like, turn to the person beside you and just tell me 5 things about that person that are wonderful. And they will just rattle them off. Oh, she's beautiful. She's a beautiful spirit. Her makeup is nice. They give you, but then I say, now turn back to me. Give me 5 about yourself.
So hard.
And they'll say stuff like, I like to clean. I like to cook. But she's beautiful.
Lord help us. Oh my goodness.
And I was like, do you see what just happened? You're so uncomfortable with giving you what you give other people. And I think that is the struggle with us, is, a lot of times is what I give other people, we can, the advice even is good, but I don't take it in. And I said I was going to, you talking about tattooing on your arm? I was going to tattoo right here, practice what you preach, because every time I reach my hand out to tell somebody something, I need to make sure that I am practicing the very thing.
That's a very good idea. Yes.
Practice what you preach. So powerful.
Because
I'm sorry, Queen Tina, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Now I'm just having some feedback. I'm sorry. It's funny because as Kelly was talking and you were talking, and I was looking down at my notes, which I'm getting better over the year, Queen Tina, without having to use notes when I'm having my interviews. But I had written down here about you. When I wanted to introduce you, I had written down that you are a woman of grace, humility, generosity, selflessness, and fire. And I was going to use those words to describe you, but I never did get around to that. But and I was thinking as Kelly was talking, like, I don't know that I would ever use any of these words about myself. And that is one of the takeaways from tonight for me, and why I'm so glad that I had you to come back, because as you were talking about the superlatives and she was talking about the example of how it's easy to say these things about other people, because when I was thinking about you earlier today, these words just came to my mind and about you. But I don't never, if anybody asked me to say anything about myself in this way, I would never think of those words about me. That's powerful.
It is. It is. You know, Kelly.
But you know, the question.
I was thinking. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I guess the question is, Queen Tina and Jamie, is why? Because we like to hear other people say it about ourselves, and we want to believe it's true. But why are we? What does it say if I say that about myself? Why am I?
Wait, what does that say about me if I say that about myself?
Right. Like, why do I feel like most of the time when I go further into why can't you say this about yourself? It is because for some reason we attach a negative connotation to saying positive things about ourselves, which is where it goes back, Queen Tina, to this generation who has no problem with their self.
That is the truth, isn't it?
They don't care what you say. You can say, that's a sight what you have on. I like it. I bought it. My nephew left out of here today with a pink, like a cozy that you like wrap up in and wore it like a coat. I mean, and I was like, are you going to wear that? He was like, yeah, I like it. It's like, you're
absolutely right about that. They are who they are. They're going to dress they're going to call themselves what they're going to call themselves. Yeah, you are right about that. But you know what, I was just thinking what a wonderful exercise it would be, because we kind of do it when we write our resume. Jamie, you were talking about superlatives. And even then I have to make myself, use a superlative. And I know it's true and I know it's there, but I do it. I will say that I do it. And the other thing is I have made a conscious decision to use, stunning, brilliant, insightful, all those words, that these people are. And when you think about it, you're not lying. You're just telling the truth about them and using those words. And like you said, try to use them for yourself a little bit too. I'm trying to think what word the. Now I can think of words, but I don't know if they're superlatives. I think I'm kind, but I don't know if I would say I was the kindest. Superlatives are a little different.
Generous.
I'm generous, yes.
You're very generous.
I'm a little wild. I have a friend who has a podcast called Living Wild, I think, that was something wild. Anyway, this is a friend of mine, a white woman who lives in South Georgia, and she grew up on a what do you call it? Where they put old cars and junkyard. And from that experience, she became an ecologist. And so she's written about ecology. Her biography, I think, is the childhood of a junkyard, of a Georgia cracker or something like that. But she's a kind woman, really good spirit, very right thinking. And as a matter of fact, she's the person who scared me, because we were talking and I said, because I'm trying very hard to talk honestly with my white friends. I mean, I always have, but I mean, now I'm just like, really, we need to talk, and so I don't censor myself at all. And I was, I was saying that I was becoming afraid. This is right after January 6th. Yeah. And I said, from what I see in my part of Georgia and, and what I see on the news, I said, it looks like it's going to come to, a blood, violent, hand-to-hand combat, civil war kind of thing. And you know what she said? Said, I'm afraid so. Sent chills through me that this white woman who lives in South Georgia said the same thing. Said the same thing. As a matter of fact, the day that I talked with her, I was on her podcast. Her daughter is not her daughter. It's her niece, I think, but she's raised her since she was little, and she was at home. And I said, is she home? I mean, she. Working from home, from school. She was teenage. She says, no. She says, yesterday, some boys at lunchtime, she was sitting by herself, but she happened to be sitting at a table with a Black person. And they came over and started attacking her and the Black person. Oh, yeah, she had to go to school. They pushed them. I mean, it became and she had said, the daughter said, she wasn't going back to school. She said, that's it. She wasn't going back to that. She wasn't going. So they're like in the thick of what we've, I don't know, fear, but what of that January 6th crowd, and those not necessarily them, but those who certainly were in favor of that. So it's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it is. That's why I was saying to reach out, because the world is making us anxious about stuff. I mean, I noticed that I've tried to take I try to take a break from the news, but then when I turn it on, sometimes the first image I will see is, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see destruction. I don't want to see death. I don't want to see, but this is what's going on around us. And, as I said, as old folks used to say, just got to pray. And I do believe in the power of prayer. I do believe in the power of prayer. So, yeah, but this is serious times. Serious times. Yeah.
Well, Queen Tina, I've had
but we can still have joy.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In the midst of it all, and I'm going to let you go because I've had your ear for over an hour now. But I always glean so much from you. Like, I called you on social media. I called you a soul nurturer, because you really do nurture my soul. And I don't just say things just to hear myself talk. I've never been that kind of person. I've always had a reputation for either saying what I was thinking or not saying anything at all. And so when I say things, I mean them. And you really do nurture my soul. And I'm gonna let you go. But I just was am beyond thrilled that you took time again to come and join me on my humble platform.
Oh, talk about superlatives. Hey, let's wait a minute. Wait. We're going the next time you come.
The next time you come back
on your little pitiful platform, Lord have mercy. Ooh, we ain't got curtains. We ain't got nothing. But I'm sorry. That's you. Stop it. You just quit it right now. I'm happy that you asked me. I'm honored that you asked me, and I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased, and I do want you and Kelly to move past the fangirl and get into being one of my little schoolgirls who feels like they can call on me. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, my little schoolgirl.
Hey, y'all don't know. She'll be man. Listen, don't give Kelly your phone number. I'm telling you, don't do it.
Oh, Kelly. Oh.
Jamie, I can't even return the phone calls of the people that are calling me. I've had 4 since we've been on here, and I text Jamie and I was like, I gotta go, because I told one guy, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to meet with you tonight because we were supposed to meet at 7. And then one of my clients actually who missed her appointment, I guess she was calling. So I'm not even one that does a lot of, when I'm
just picking on you.
But I tell you what I will do, I will come to Georgia, and that's a promise, because I love to travel. But I won't just show up.
She's not gonna bother me with a phone call, but she's gonna go, Tina, it's me.
No.
I love y'all so much. I love you so much. Thank you.
I'm gonna make sure that she gets the link for your podcast, because the times I've watched it, I just loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's called Two Old Chicks Who Know a Lot of Shit, but the last word is spelled SH''T. And it's on Spotify and YouTube. Yes. And we would like for you to follow us, please, and subscribe. We're trying to get a wider audience so we can do some things. We got plans. We got plans. And Jamie and I have plans for a project we'll talk to y'all about. But it's in the simmering stage. We put it on the back burner to let it simmer to see what came out.
Right. That's right.
Well, we'll be in touch. Actually, Queen Tina, we do an event in October of every year called Loving the Skin I'm In, and we're bringing it to Atlanta this year. So,
yeah, okay, we'll see.
We're going to go to Stone Mountain. Yeah,
okay.
Well, that's when I can swing by.
Oh, just swing by. It's about a 5.5-hour drive, but it's less than an hour flight. We have an airport, so you can get down here in an hour.
See, there you go.
There you go.
Because I don't drive anything over 2 hours, so I'll definitely fly. Okay. Thank you, Jamie.
I love y'all.
Thank you, Queen Tina.
I love you.
Love you both so much, and we'll talk again very soon. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So I'll be hearing from you, huh, Jamie?
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna call you tonight about 2:00.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye. Y'all take care of each other.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.